took all the information in. There's a strange formula, but it took all the factors in, including separate incomes. But I mean, if you want to leave it in and then we talk about it more later, I'm okay with that. I just, you can't, the table doesn't.
So Mark, I hear what you're saying. I want to say two things. First, that was already in the draft that we have now been over at 3 or 4 consecutive meetings. That was not in any way anything that I edited for purposes of today. So that's number one. Number two, I appreciate what you're saying from an intellectual perspective. And I see that you're saying there's sort of an inherent flaw in the concept of baking it into the BCSO table when we're using combined gross income. I also think that that's in the example piece of this bullet that's, just intended to be illustrative of potential options. And for you as an economist and, a regular attendee and, for you to contribute that's not a reasonable outcome, I think is a perfectly valid position, but I don't think it affects the charges and objectives. I think I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I said, we can leave it in and just talk about it more later. I didn't know if you wanted to strike it now or maybe later.
I think it's fine in the charge, and I'm not sure that it will ever need to be struck because this is just a charge and objective. And if we end up with some other resolution that's not anywhere close to in the phrase embedded in the BCSO, then it's a moot point. So,
let's move on.
Yes, I appreciate your careful reading of it, though.
So, Katie, I have a question. Yes. If we don't have a quorum, can I make a motion?
We have reached quorum, I believe.
Yeah, we have reached quorum. All right. I would like to move that we adopt the most current version of the.
Carol, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm so sorry to interrupt. We have 24 members, and we do not have but 11 attending outside of staff and the chair. So we do not have quorum. Am I right?
What's the percentage?
We need also Charles Bernardi is on. I'm not a host, so I can't promote him, but can somebody promote Charles? We have another member to join us. So we're now at 12.
Yeah, I've been trying to click the promote the panelists a couple times. Wait, I think maybe now it went.
Okay, hold on. I see a note from Byron saying that Charles Bernardi is the cell phone number.
Yeah.
Did you just promote him, Noel? Thank you.
I did.
All right, well, that brings us to 12 members. So if 24 is our number, we still do not have one additional person to give us quorum.
Oh, wait, Judge Davis just joined.
Good, we have quorum.
God bless him.
All right, I'd like to move that we adopt the most recent version of the objectives as circulated by Katie earlier today.
I move by voice vote.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of adopting the charges and objectives as most recent draft as circulated by me earlier today, say aye or raise your little hand on the Zoom. Indicate your
Aye.
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 Okay, are there any nays? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. While we are at it, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the July 22nd meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. A second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you, everyone.
A quick question. Where are the smiley face emojis? I don't see it.
It's a fair question at this point, Mark. Thank you. I know. I wish I had something, really something. I wish I were quicker on my feet. I'd think of something we could vote on just for the fun of it, for the practice. Okay, for those of you who are trickling in, thank you so much for being here. We know that you are busy and have other professional obligations. So we are grateful for your time. As a quick recap, what you've just missed in the last few minutes is that the announcement that the May 20th meeting minutes were approved via e-vote. As you just heard, we voted and approved the July 22nd minutes and the charge and objectives review that we spent quite a bit of time on at the last meeting, at the July meeting and at the May meeting for that matter. We tweaked bullet number 2 just slightly following the July 22nd meeting and have approved those in their totality as of today. So I think that gets everyone up to speed, and thank you for, again, for being here. On to old business, which is really the business. I don't know if I can even call it old business, but and for those who were not able to attend the last meeting, please make sure that you are understanding where we are. I don't want to leave anyone in the dark because we really are at a critical point in terms of putting together final products that and you're going to need to understand what's going on in order to be a valuable contributing member, and that's obviously what we'd like you to be. So thank you very much to Johanna, her I think started the very first draft, and then Sarah and Carol spent I don't know how much time, but did a bang up job with the draft of questions to ask our out of state friends that we're going to be in touch with about their state's methodology as it relates to parenting time and how it is used in child support calculations. Hopefully, I know Elaine sent these out a while back. Hopefully everybody has a copy of these questions. And hopefully these questions, while certainly in this particular form are new to this meeting, but we have been discussing these questions for many months, arguably even a year or so now, when we've looked at other states and what they do and how they do it and why they do it and how it affects their child support. So with that introduction, and I'm just gonna say it again, thank you for your work on these questions. I'm gonna open the floor for discussion about these questions, comments, questions about the questions.
I just noticed we have a duplicate maybe in 9 and 20. That was the only thing that was substantive that I noticed. That was.
Did we have any new versions since the edits were made?
What do you mean, Mark, since the edits were made?
Well, I thought we did some edits on them.
Attached to the agenda for this meeting, you should have the most current version. And I think that Johanna is right. There is some overlap in the wording of, yeah, no, they're pretty much identical, 9 and 20. We just need to pick one and stick with it. I spotted a typo, but I'm not overly concerned about that. I think most everybody could pick that out and edit that accordingly.
And Katie, if I may offer for Mark, I sent an email out this morning that had the list attached.
Okay, thank you, Elaine.
So I did send an email this morning.
Yep.
And Mark, they were sent to the two of us, actually, specifically you and me, after Carol and Sarah did their initial heavy lifting on it.
Yeah, there were some email issues with Mindspring.
Okay. But I know it was sent to us, and that was very much in keeping with what we discussed at the last meeting, that those would come to the two of us before they came in advance of this meeting. So have you had a chance to look at them?
I actually don't have that email, but maybe I'm not on the list somehow.
Elaine, can you flip that to Mark?
Yeah, I didn't think I was supposed to send it to him. I apologize for that, but I will do so right now.
No, but Carol sent it to him, I think.
Right. That's why.
Yeah, okay, all right. So evidently Mark, for whatever reason, did not get the version that I sent out in late July.
Right.
And so he reached out.
I got
to
the
me.
version that you eventually got to me Friday or something.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you contacted me and said, I haven't seen it. And I said, well, I sent it, but give me another email. And so I sent it to you. And, so, it's basically the same information, I think, that's in what Elaine sent this morning, although quite honestly, I've been busy doing some other things. And
All right, I'm not
Mark, I have-
I'm not getting Elaine's email this morning.
All right,
Mark,
what
I
I sent
have-
this,
So I
I
hate
have it open
bothering
right
them.
now. What's your email address?
Well, it's rmrogers@mindspring.com.
I just sent it a couple minutes
Oh, did
ago.
you? Okay.
yeah, and that's where I sent it this morning also, Mark, because that's the only email address I have for you. So hopefully if someone else sends it to you, it will get through. But it's what I
Yeah.
sent this morning was just the 21 questions and not including, because these were incredibly beautiful documents that Sarah and Carol worked on. But for us to have just the questions, I just extracted the 21 questions, and that's what went out this morning. So you'd have just that to look at initially.
So I just sent it, Mark.
Okay. Well, I can dig up if no changes have been made since sending it to me, I can dig those up. I really don't want to spend this time.
Well, I appreciate that, Mark, but I also would like for you to have, I'd like you to be looking at the same thing that the rest of us are.
Well, all right, I do have the questions for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 6 states. So I have that.
Yes,
That's
the
what we're talking
21 are in that.
Yeah. And I found that duplicated.
Okay, while Mark is looking for that, can I open the floor to any other questions or comments? Because while I definitely want Mark to get on the same page, I also happen to know that Mark saw them from Carol, before today, whereas the rest of you, this is a first look for some of you. Though, as I said earlier, hopefully not a first look in terms of, feeling like you're starting from a blank page, because we have been discussing for all these months, the different ways states do things and the questions we've had in our discussions. And this is an attempt to sort of synthesize all of that to one place so that when we drill down into our 6 selected states, we're asking the same questions to cull the same information. And they happen to be the questions that have come up for us so many times over the last year and a half. I think that's a fair way to summarize these, a description of these questions. So does anybody have any thoughts, comments?
Well, I did kind of like the comment made just now. And hopefully I'm saying the right numbers, because when you mess with an automated numbering thing, you lose track of what started and what you ended up with numbers. Anyway, I think number 9 partially overlaps with the last bulleted question in number 6, though I like the last bulleted question in number 6.
So I think that so Johanna just pointed out that number 9 and number 21 are essentially the same question, just broken out in bullets differently. Number 6, at least on our numbering, is asking about if the methodology in their state results in the cliff effect that we've.
All right, then the last bullet kind of
I see what you're saying, Mark.
Yeah,
I think that question is intended to be kind of juxtaposed with the first question of
just
cliff
to
effect.
focusing. Yeah, I like that last bullet. So maybe it's not a big deal at all.
But I don't think you can take the last bullet in number 6, that would you prefer a more gradual linear approach, et cetera, in a vacuum. I think that bullet is intended to be in connection to question number 6, which is, does your method create a cliff? So I hear what you're saying about asking if they would like a more gradual approach, but then that begs the question, more than what? So you need question 6. You have to read them together, basically.
Right. Yeah, we may need to pay attention to which states do have cliff effects, because it doesn't make sense to ask states that don't have cliff effects. And
I don't agree. I think the point of this list of questions is to ask them if they have it, and gather that information in our information gathering. And, you know, for some states that we're going to be talking to, they might readily respond, no, we do not.
okay,
have
all right, that's good. That's good.
Would it be helpful for us to set this up more as a survey, just for ease of entering the information for the interviewer and or the interviewee?
So I actually wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the methodology. We already have our suckers, volunteers for who's going to be calling these, these other professionals, and we've identified the professionals. So it's my hope that that our phone callers on this committee are familiar enough with these questions and what we're getting at, and what we've been discussing, that I'd rather not put it in survey form, because I think that there might be, for example, follow-up questions that are not exactly on this list. You know, this list isn't intended to be a script, but that come about as the result of the answer. And I worry that if we draft it in too much of a survey, we won't get what we want. We'll get answers, but
my thought is like a long form answer box. So it's like a paragraph per, just to give room to put it so it's all in one, it's all in one sort of overall format, to make it maybe a little easier to deal with, but I don't know that it's necessary. Just it's what I've been kicking around.
So is the survey, all right, I can't use that word.
No, it's not a survey, but it's
not,
it's in a form.
This document, very generic. Is the person in the other state going to get this document, or is the caller just going to say, we discussed having a discussion, so let me just go through some questions and take notes?
Well, I consider that part of the discussion that we're having today. I would like to leave a little bit of room for the volunteers, because again, we have volunteers on this committee who are going to be on the making the call in, but then we also have, at the moment, identified but not yet notified volunteers on the receiving end of this call. And so I'd like everybody to have the most room, since we're asking for people's valuable time. So for example, if I'm, when I pick up the phone and call this, lawyer that we've identified in Minnesota, and explain who I am and why I'm calling and ask for their time, if I feel like based on that conversation that it would be helpful and efficient to say to them, I can send you kind of the outline of questions I want to talk to you about in advance, but I'd still like to discuss it with you, and then I'll be taking notes. Or maybe they say, how about if I answer it and you read my answers and then we have a conversation? I don't think it needs to be necessarily the same method for each person. I think we need to leave it open-ended. But the point of this list, as I understood our discussion of it, was to make sure that we were getting similar information, so that when we come back together as a group and powwow, we can compare apples to apples in terms of what we learned from the other states, but not to be overly micromanage the person asking the question or the person receiving it.
So it is a guide.
Correct. It is a guide that we need the phone callers to follow, because we are intentionally looking for these questions that we've learned have just come up over these last 18 plus months, but it's not intended to be a script, or, if that makes sense.
Well, what kind of makes sense to me is the caller just say, I'd like to run through some questions, take notes, and then after I type up the notes, I'll email it back and see if you need to, make corrections or additions, that kind of thing.
So Mark, that is one of the potential methods. I think that we need to leave it up to the caller and the recipient of the call, who are both donating their time, to see if that method makes sense based on the flow of their particular conversation. The good news is the people we've identified in these other states are all longtime practitioners with credible experience in family law. We're not calling first-year associates. We're not hoping they know something about family law in their state. We know that they do. So if I don't know, if when I'm talking to the Minnesota lawyer, the natural flow is that I say, okay, I've taken a ton of notes. You know, can I ask one more favor? If I flip you these notes in an email, will you just spot check them and make sure I didn't get anything wrong? And, you know, the person says yes, then fine. But if I feel like I've gotten enough of their time and it was really thorough and that's not necessary, I'm not going to impose that on the person. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And, you know, I think it's like anything. I mean, you know, you can't walk into a courtroom and try a case with a list of questions and not listen to the responses and follow up, you know, on what somebody might say for point of clarification or an understanding about why they like or dislike a particular type of the methodology that they have in that particular state. You know, which gets back to the question, you know, when I was doing the questions about how would you improve your state? You know, what would you do differently? Because maybe we'll learn something, you know, that will help us in, you know, making a recommendation to the commission about what they ought to be thinking about doing. So, but I had a different question for everybody. Well, for the panel in general. I went into a real panic when I got Elaine's agenda, because it was almost like I thought, oh my gosh, have I done something wrong? I haven't gone and talked to my people yet in the state, and I sort of spazzed out.
Sorry, Carol, because that was not what it was intended to do.
Well, it's okay. You know, I'm somewhat discombobulated because I'm at this point in my life going back and forth between two different places a lot. But what I did learn when I spazzed out about all of that was that one of the lawyers in my state was in a humongous trial. Okay. And so I'm not sure what our timetable is going to be going forward in terms of being able to contact these people and when we're supposed to be reporting back. But I got a little concerned about that if we were on a really short time frame, because you know, somebody, and then if that is the case, do we have the option of going to someone else? I guess was my next question.
So in terms of timetable, I believe what we discussed at the last meeting is that we went ahead and
Hi, everyone.
set the September
This is Kyla
15th,
Lines. I'm currently
meeting,
the chair
and
of
the idea was that
family law
hopefully
section of the
we
state
can
bar.
have spoken to
I'm gonna
our
ramble for
out of
just a couple
state
minutes as
folks
everyone
by
joins
that
us in Zoom. I can see
I
everybody
would
populating,
agree
and
to the extent that this
it's
is what
good
you're
to see
saying,
so
or I
many
will
familiar
submit if you are
faces.
not saying this, that feels like
The
a pretty tight
good
turnaround.
news
Given that
is that
today's the
hopefully most
25th
of us
of
are now
August,
vaccinated.
and,
Yay!
you know,
And
so,
are
and
going
we
to
know,
be
for
able
example,
to
that, you know,
begin actually socializing
to pick
again
on somebody
and
who's not
doing
here, you know,
various
Adam
things in person.
is calling
So
a
I
lawyer
will
or two
go
in
ahead and
Florida,
take that
and Adam,
opportunity to
I
announce that we
believe,
are
is picking a
planning,
jury right
since
now.
we have
William, can you
missed
confirm
our
that they're
Family
doing
Law
that?
Institute for 2 years
Still
now.
doing juries?
We are
It's scheduled for
planning a
tomorrow,
summer
but
party,
actually judges
that will
criminal
be
trial is
held
going along, so
here
it might now be
in
Friday.
Atlanta
Okay.
at
But we knew that was, you know, so he's, you know, and then, you know, then goes into, you know, that
is
trial. So
currently we are
so yes,
awaiting
that feels like a
approval
tight
of the
turnaround. I
contract
guess
from the
what I would
powers
say
that be
is,
at the state bar. Shockingly, a
I
group
think
of
if
lawyers
the pandemic has taught
needs
us
to review
nothing, it's
every
that
contract
everybody
that we
needs
enter
to
into
be
and
ready
make
and willing to show
many
grace
edits.
for everyone
So as
else's
soon as we have
schedule
that
and
approved,
be
we
ready
will
to pivot,
provide y'all with
especially we're
some
being
additional
reminded of it the hard way
information.
as
But right
we're seeing
now,
the
I
Delta
believe we
variant
are
shake things up in terms of schools
targeting
and
June
childcare and who can
24th
see
is the
whom and
date.
travel
Lee Cummins,
plans
would you
and
nod your head if I'm right
that
about
kind
that?
of thing.
Thank you.
You know, I
Yes,
hope
June
that
24th.
my
The
hope
idea
would be,
being that
without making any
hopefully
official
other folks from
changes to
around
the
the state,
plan,
we're trying to
that
build it in up against a
that
weekend, so
some of our
we
6
can,
states will have
make
been
it
reached
truly
in a
a
way that
state
we
bar
can
function.
start a discussion at our
And it
September
won't
5th
just
meeting,
be
15th
folks from
meeting.
Atlanta.
And if we need to, you know, if we need to pivot and
that,
reschedule or,
in
you know,
mind
or
and look
schedule
for
based
further
on the next
announcements on
thing,
that.
that we'll, you know, we'll be ready to
We
do
are
that.
also
I'm
planning,
not sure
this
that
is
exactly
obviously y'all
answers
are
your
here for the
question, but,
first of a monthly lunch
but
and learn,
I don't know
which
what
is
options we have
um,
right now. I mean, I agree with you.
something that
People
we
are
as a
busy
section are
and
able to do through.
I get spazzy too,
the
and,
wonderful
there's not enough time in the
Lane
day.
Sosby, who works with
Every
the
time my
state
phone
bar,
rings and it's my kids'
and
school
Mary Jo
on my cell phone,
Sullivan,
I have a little heart attack.
rather than doing
because
a
I'm just scared to
full
death they're going to send them
lengthy
home for
seminar
virtual
through
learning.
ICLE.
So I know
because
everybody's in that
essentially
boat.
ICLE hasn't been able to
What do y'all
ramp
think
it
of
up
that in terms of
to
next
do
steps?
Zoom versions of larger seminars.
And I guess I
So
should really
what
address
we've
that
done
to
is we're
Carol,
planning
Johanna,
to take the
and Pat, since you guys are on the
a
call.
chunk
and I've already
of
been
the Family Law
tapped
Institute
to
that was
call
supposed to be
out-of-state
put on
professionals.
last year,
I think that's
and
fine. We just
break
have
it
to bear in
into
mind that
1
people are
hour
busy.
seminars that
and
we're going
do the best we
to
can.
put on a monthly basis. Next month's seminar will be June
Um,
21st, and
Carol,
it is
I
going to
think
be
my thought about do we
a,
have the option to call someone
related
else?
to arbitration in family law and how
I think
to
what I would say
ensure
is,
that your arbitration
I
agreement
mean, if
is
you come
sound
back to the
and
meeting and
viable
say,
and
I got a
enforceable.
hold of the person
Your
we talked
orders to
about, I don't
arbitrate
remember
contain
the
the
Tennessee
language that
person's
they need
name,
to
but I
have.
got a hold of
That will
Joe
be presented
Smith
by Rebecca
and or
Crumrine
his,
Reader
paralegal,
Jeff
and
Davis.
he's in a
So
trial
I
or
think
he's on vacation
those
or
are the
God
fun
forbid he's out with
announcement
COVID, but
parts
his
of today's
law partner or
presentation.
senior associate or some person
and so
was
moving on to
ready
the
and willing to speak to
agenda,
us because they
I
love
wanted
to
to
help
give
out a
a
fellow
brief,
practitioner. I mean, I would say have that phone
explanation
call.
of
I
what
wouldn't
we
say
are
like,
permitted to do.
I mean, we
as a
didn't vote
state
on the
bar
people we're going to
section.
speak to. We sent
Because
around the bios and
oftentimes,
said,
I know,
these are some potential
prior
people.
to
And frankly,
Hannibal Heredia
we
serving
could
as
get the door
our
slammed in our face
legislative
by one of these. I
liaison,
mean, I doubt it based on the
I
list
had
we
the privilege of doing
pulled
that
from.
for,
I think there's
can't
a
remember whether it was
sort of
one
built-in
1 or 2
collegiality,
years.
but I would say that
we
everybody
often
needs
get a lot
to
of questions about
do what you
what's the
can. But if
section
you get
doing
a
about this crazy legislation,
reach a
or
dead end, but they
why
offer
aren't
you
we
a
proposing
off-ramp, I
this
would say take it.
legislation, or what?
That's my
And
gut.
the
Does anybody
reality
have
of it
any
is
strong
that we
feelings
are governed
otherwise?
by United States Supreme Court law.
Okay,
That's
and
in
just
your,
to
the
update
actual
some of you
case
who
itself is in your
haven't,
materials.
who didn't make it to the
That is
July meeting.
Keller versus
I think
State
you
Bar of
probably gleaned
California.
from here, but we have
And so essentially
Adam
what it
Glecklin,
means is
Pat,
Georgia,
Carol,
like the State
Johanna,
Bar,
and I are going to be calling family law practitioners in Minnesota, Nevada, Florida, Virginia, Tennessee, and New Jersey. So hold on, I ran out of fingers there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it is 6. With these 21 questions and talking to them about their state's methodology, hopefully with a plan to be able to sort of report in a way that's similar, though obviously it can't be the same, to the report we got from our guest speaker about the California plans, where it's just a really thorough analysis of what they do and why. And we did carefully select those 6 states after, we've kind of gone like this with our states, and we're down to these 6 states of study. So the next meeting is already set for September 15th. We did have to, I think, shift the time a little bit because I got put on a hearing calendar for the morning. But hopefully we can go forward with that meeting and be able to discuss some, if not all, of the 6 states and who's connected with whom and where we stand.
And Katie, we have that meeting on the 15th of September in the afternoon. Is that still correct, or do we need to change that?
I have the 15th of September at 1:30, and I think
That's it. We have that. Good.
Right,
Okay.
and that
We're okay.
accounted for the change to my schedule because of a hearing that I saw emails that went back and forth about that.
Yes,
So,
we have it. We have it for the 1:30 in the afternoon. I just want to confirm. Okay. Thank you.
and the likelihood of me getting stuck in court is incredibly remote, but if I don't say out loud that I do technically have court that morning and I could get stuck, then I definitely will. So, I have to tell you that I have court so that everything will go smoothly. Okay. Before we leave this subject, I mean, just looking here again at the whole section titled Old Business, which, as I said, I would submit is really just business. It's our business. It's our ongoing business. Okay, we've talked about the questions. We talked about the, well, I just reiterated who we've already decided on in terms of the our committee members who will be contacting the states and that was done at a prior meeting, so we don't need to spend any more time on that. In terms of email content for practitioners, I think that's really where we are with this list of questions. And as I've said, my preference is to leave it open to those who are making the call to have a good rapport with those who are receiving the call, to do it in the way that you feel like is the most respectful of their time and achieves our goal. And we noticed, you know, we made note here that, you know, about 30 minutes per practitioner. I mean, I think that's optimistic. I think when you talk to lawyers who know their stuff, I think these 21 questions could take longer than 30 minutes to go through with them, especially with follow-up questions. So I personally am going to ask for an hour of their time because I would rather ask for more and not need it than the other way around, sort of that overpromise, or what is it, underpromise, overdeliver. But again, I'll leave that up to you know, the rest of you who are making your calls as well. Last on our old business list, we did send out, I sent out a round of solicitation emails from our parenting time deviation study to our parenting time deviation study committee members who have not made it to several meetings and got responses that were helpful. Some were, I'm not available and here's why, and but some were, you know, absolutely, and here I am. And I will reiterate that I think that if the pandemic has taught us nothing, hopefully all of us are prepared to give grace to anyone we encounter, because if you have not experienced a last minute scheduling delay that you have no control over related to COVID, then, well, I don't know what rock you're living under. So I think it's fair to say that we've got some re-engaged committee members. We've had some committee members who have plainly said that they cannot participate for everything from schedules, work commitments, children, to medical issues, emergencies, that kind of thing. But that's still all helpful information for us because it changes our quorum and our numbers and what we can do. So so that we're in business on that front. And moving on to the new business line item, Elaine, do we have new business?
Let me look at the agenda, sorry.
It's okay.
Well, we don't actually, but we of course added it on there in case anyone needed to bring up anything that had not previously been discussed.
Okay, that's what I thought. So does anyone have anything not previously discussed? And I know that I see Dave in the chat asking about some time to speak. Dave, I did get a message from my office that you called my office earlier today asking to be on the agenda. And unfortunately, these agendas get drafted, or fortunately, I'm not sure how you want to look at it. I would say Elaine would say fortunately because she works so hard on them in advance, but the agendas are solidified well in advance of the day of. I think, and I'm also not the first point of contact for getting on the agenda. I mean, I appreciate that deference, but I would prefer you go through staff, and then I work with them once the agenda is sort of framed out and put together. So I can't see that he's here, but he's in the chat. So I assume that Dave can hear me, and I guess this would apply to anyone else.
Yes, Katie, this is Elaine, and I have communicated with him in writing through email, through this chat about 3 or 4 times this afternoon, telling him he will be on the October 15 agenda for the Child Support Commission meeting when we take public comment. That's when public comments are accepted, is that meeting.
Great.
So he's been told that he will be allowed.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, that's definitely what we want conveyed to him, and that is helpful. I did see another chat. Okay, there's a lot of more chat. I don't know if y'all are reading these chats too. I'm just trying to get caught up with them.
Can I ask a quick question, Mark? You said that there's a public hearing tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. Where is that?
That's the Economic Study Committee.
It's the Economic Subcommittee that's meeting tomorrow night for a public listening session.
Yeah, it's posted, of course, on the Commission's main page under meetings.
So that's the low income?
No, it's the Economic Study.
That's the Economic Subcommittee meeting.
Oh, okay.
As we're beginning to do the economic study in 2022,
yeah.
this is one of the listening sessions.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's and that is in everybody should have the link for that Zoom meeting in your inbox to the extent that you want to participate. That was sent out by Elaine yesterday. It's bullet number 4 when she was updating all of us, and she gives the if you want to attend the that meeting, that she gives the link and
awesome. Thank you.
So, so I guess Elaine, just for clarification for everybody, Dr. Tutterow will chair that meeting.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I don't have any other specific new business, but I will take just a minute to update you to the extent that you care. Elaine's already reiterated it in the email, but we do have some new members of the Child Support Commission. Lawyers, we lost Judge LaGruo and she left the Superior Court bench, but now she's come back on as a Supreme Court justice for Georgia. A mediator and lawyer, Christina Scott, looks like another Superior Court judge, Judge Colbert, and which hasn't Judge Colbert attended one or two of these meetings, Elaine?
Judge Colbert, yes, because she is a new commission member.
Right, but I think she attended maybe our May parenting time meeting.
Or it was Judge Williford did, I think. Maybe it was Williford who did.
Okay, is Judge
Colbert
Williford,
might have also attended.
okay, I'm sorry to ask this, but is Judge Williford a woman?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't know if it was Judge Williford or Judge.
Connie Williford, yes.
Oh, then, okay, I think it was Connie. Yes, I think that's right. Okay. Anyway, so to the extent that you like to keep up with who's on the Child Support Commission, there are new members. They've been duly sworn in. And the next full Child Support Commission meeting is, as Elaine just said, October 15th, where there will be time for public comment. So for any of you in the chat or who have been participating in these meetings, would like to be heard, the public comment time at the big commission meeting is the next opportunity for that. Well, I guess the next opportunity for that is tomorrow at the Economic Study Committee that's getting public feedback. But then the next opportunity will be the Child Support Commission meeting. Okay, any other new business that anyone can think of? Okay, so our next meeting, as we have said a couple of times, and I'll just say it again because I'm not sure we can say it too much, is September the 15th at 1:30. Carol, Johanna, Pat, Adam, wherever he is getting ready for trial, and I are going to do our best to get in touch with these out-of-state practitioners and cajole them into giving us some free insight into what their state is doing. So I will say Godspeed to us on that list. And I guess, you know, we have each other's emails. Yeah. Thank you, Carol. Anybody who, you know, if you have a burning question for a particular state, you know, feel free to reach out directly, you know, to whomever will be speaking to that state. But hopefully our next meeting will come with some feedback, and we should be moving in the right direction.
Katie, this is Elaine. I have a question, just a cleanup question. On the 21 questions, we do have to reconcile 9 and 20, I believe it was.
21, I think. It was not 21.
I think you can
Thinking it
just
was
delete.
20 and 6. Or, sorry, 9 and 20 was what I thought it was.
Yeah, just delete the version that's.
Oh, sorry, Elaine, you're right. 9 and 20.
So Katie, my question is, who is going to make those edits to the document? Do you want staff to do that, or is this something you're asking Sarah to do? I might have missed that.
I mean, I was just going to cross out one of them.
Okay, if that's acceptable, that's fine.
Yeah, this is for 6 people. This isn't for, I mean, the whole group has reviewed these and discussed them, but in terms of asking them, and I guess your worst case scenario, if you have an old draft when you're actually speaking to the out-of-state practitioner, is that you get halfway through the question and realize that you've already asked it.
Okay, that's not a problem. They'll take care of that. And I just want to make sure if we needed to edit that we were aware of that task.
I mean, if somebody's dying to make sure that there's sort of a final version that's all cleaned up, there's a typo in one of them too. An I is left hanging on a sentence that should come down to make an if or an is. I don't remember where it was. But I
split
think that
between questions.
The 5 people making these calls, I think can reconcile 9 and 20 and handle it from here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Adam just needs to know that there's a duplicate, maybe just a quick thing to him.
Yes, thank you, Johanna.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have anything else for today? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, again, for your time. good luck to those making calls. And I don't know, maybe we should all go buy lottery tickets because we're adjourning this meeting considerably earlier than this kind of meeting usually gets out. So if anybody hits the Mega Millions, we'll know why. Thanks, everybody.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody have an objection to adjourning? Okay, then otherwise we'll stand, that vote has passed. All right, everybody take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.